They told me the apartment was empty. No one had lived there for 6 years. But every night, I heard someone whispering my name. This is the story of apartment 3B and the whispering tenant who never left. Lena, 27, moved into apartment 3B of an old 1960s building in downtown Chicago. The rent was shockingly cheap. The landlady, Ms. Brewer, just smiled when Lena asked why. "Oh, it's just been vacant. Some places take a while to feel like home." Lena, newly single and broke, didn't care. She just needed a fresh start. The first night was quiet. The second night, she heard a whisper. "Lena." It was soft, like someone standing behind her. She turned. Nothing. It continued every night, always at 2:41 a.m. At first, she thought it was a dream, but one night, she hit record on her phone. The next morning, she played it back. Static. Then, "Lena, I never left." The maintenance man, Curtis, came to fix the heater. She asked if anyone had lived there before her. Curtis stopped, stared at the wall, and said, "This place, it remembers." He wouldn't explain. Later that week, her ceiling light flickered non-stop. When she removed the glass, folded paper fell from inside. It was a child's drawing, scribbled in red crayon, a tall shadow, a woman crying. The words, "Don't trust her." Lena bought an antique mirror at a thrift shop to brighten up the hallway. That night, she saw someone behind her in it, a woman with long black hair and no eyes. She spun around. No one. But in the mirror. The woman blinked. Lena covered the mirror and locked herself in her bedroom. Lena dug into the building's history. She found a name, Clara Voss, last resident of apartment 3B. Disappeared in 2017. No family, no body. Declared dead in absentia. In an online forum about urban legends, someone had written, "Clara Voss whispers to the new tenants. If she calls your name 3 times, you'll take her place." That night, Lena sat still. 41 a.m. The whisper came. "Lena? Lena? Before the third whisper, Lena shouted, "Why me? What do you want?" Everything went silent. Then came a voice. Not a whisper, but a woman's voice behind her. "I just want my home back." The lights exploded, her phone fried, and the mirror shattered, showing a reflection of Lena standing motionless, but her mouth was smiling wide. The next morning, Curtis arrived to check the blown fuse. He knocked. No answer. He opened the door. The apartment was spotless, too clean, but something was off. On the wall, in red crayon, "It's okay. I never left." And in the mirror above the fireplace, Curtis saw Lena, standing perfectly still, smiling, but in the room she wasn't there. If you ever move into a cheap apartment, don't just ask why it's cheap. Ask who used to live there. Ask if they ever left. At first I thought it was a trick of the light, a glitch in the mirror maybe. I'd move my hand and the reflection would lag. Just a second. But the more I stared, the more I realized something terrifying. The girl in the mirror wasn't me, not really. She wore my face, but she was waiting for something, watching. And one night she smiled first. It all started when I moved into my new apartment. The place was old, built in the early 1900s, but charming, in that dusty, mysterious way old buildings often are. The hardwood floors creaked, the windows groaned against the wind, and the walls seemed to whisper with every draft. I moved in during winter, when the gray skies and fog made everything feel even more otherworldly. I'd just landed a job downtown and needed a quiet, affordable place. When I found the listing, $800 for a one-bedroom, utilities included, I jumped on it. The landlord, Mr. Hollis, was an older man with thick glasses and a soft, trembling voice. When he showed me the unit, there was a strange glint in his eyes as he stopped at the bedroom. "This room has a bit of character," he said. Character, it turned out, meant a large antique mirror bolted to the wall across from the bed. It stood nearly 7 feet tall, framed in dark wood that curled like ivy vines. It was scratched in places, and one corner was chipped, but otherwise, it was pristine. Mr. Hollis patted the mirror gently. "Been here longer than I have," he said with a half smile. I didn't love the idea of a mirror facing my bed. It felt like inviting something to watch me sleep. But I didn't want to seem paranoid. Besides, I had bigger concerns: unpacking, furnishing the place, and starting my new job. The first few nights were uneventful. I was exhausted from the move and slept like a rock. But as I settled in, I started noticing strange things. The mirror didn't feel right. I'd catch it out of the corner of my eye, tiny glitches in the reflection. I'd move my hand to brush my hair, and the reflection would lag, just a heartbeat behind. One evening, I stood brushing my teeth and saw myself turn my head a second too late. I stopped and stared, heart pounding. The reflection stared back. I raised my hand and waved. The girl in the mirror did the same, but slower, like she was thinking about it first. I laughed nervously and shook it off. Old mirror. Bad lighting. Maybe I was just tired, but the feeling didn't go away. If anything, it got worse. At night, I'd lie in bed and glance at the mirror. In the shadows, it almost looked like someone was standing just behind the glass. I told myself it was nothing, but the unease grew heavier, like the mirror was absorbing my fear. Then came the night I saw her smile. I woke up at exactly 3 a.m. I didn't know why. I wasn't cold or anxious. I just woke up. The room was dark, lit only by the street lamp outside. I turned my head toward the mirror. My reflection was staring at me, not sleeping, not blinking, eyes wide open. And then she smiled. It wasn't a normal smile. It was too wide, too deliberate, like someone trying to mimic human expression and getting it slightly wrong. I bolted upright and turned on the lamp. In the warm glow, the mirror showed nothing out of the ordinary. My reflection looked tired and afraid, just like me. I didn't sleep again that night. I decided to record it. I needed to prove to myself that it was all in my head. That night, I set my phone on the dresser, pointed it at the mirror, and hit record. The next morning, I watched the footage. For the first few hours, everything was still. Me, sleeping. The blanket rising and falling with each breath. Then, at 3 a.m., the screen glitched. The mirror no longer reflected my room. Instead, it showed a hallway. Dim, gray, with peeling wallpaper and a flickering light. My heart pounded. A figure entered the frame. She looked like me, but wasn't. Her eyes were hollow, her skin pale. She wore a torn white dress. She turned slowly to face the camera and smiled. Then she reached toward the screen. The video cut to black. I spent days trying to make sense of the video. I explored the apartment building, searching for the hallway, the basement, the stairwells. Nothing matched, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd seen it before. In dreams, in the corners of my mind. One night I dreamed of it. I stood in that same hallway. The air was thick, like breathing fog. At the end of the corridor was a mirror, my mirror. I approached it, heart thudding. In the reflection, I saw my room. Me, sleeping. I screamed, pounded on the glass, but I didn't stir. Behind me, I felt a presence. I turned. She stood inches away. Her mouth opened, and her voice echoed like a whisper in a cave. "You looked too long." Now I'm looking back. I woke up gasping. But something was different. I avoided the mirror completely. Draped it with a blanket. But some nights, I heard whispers from behind the fabric, a faint tapping. like fingernails on glass. One morning, I noticed something strange. Hairline cracks forming in the glass, though I hadn't touched it in days. They spread slowly, branching like veins. Then one night, I heard a voice. Let me out. It was my voice, but not quite. Lower, distant, echoing from the mirror. I screamed and ran from the room. When I returned the next morning, the mirror was gone. I called Mr. Hollis, furious and terrified. Where did the mirror go? Did you come into my apartment? He sounded confused. What mirror? The huge antique one, bolted to the bedroom wall. You said it was original to the building. Silence. Miss, there's never been a mirror in that room. I don't know what you're talking about. I checked the listing photos online. No mirror. The wall was bare. It's been weeks. I've moved the bed, installed curtains. I even tried to bless the apartment, but sometimes at 3 a.m., I still wake up. Not to sounds, not to dreams, to a presence. And sometimes, in windows, dark screens, or the surface of my tea, I catch glimpses of her, moving just a second too late. Sometimes she smiles first, and every time I wonder, did I really leave the mirror behind, or did she follow me through? Because now, every reflection feels like a door, and I'm afraid, one night, she won't need to knock.